Hey everybody, third live out of 30, and I wanted to change the tone a dash today because there's some weird stuff going on in the world, and it is one of those niggles that I've been talking about the past couple of days in the back of my mind, and I've committed this month to lean in and be perfectly imperfect and get comfortable with the uncomfortable. And I guess one of the big things that I wanted to kind of own up to is my white privilege. And one of the times when I absolutely noticed it this year, and I wanted to open up a conversation about it. The big time I noticed it was I run a big conference, NatEx, and I love that conference, and I created it specifically with only women speakers on the stage, which I thought was great, until I printed out this year's conference handout, and it had all of the speakers in one row. It had all of their headshots, and all of the speakers had something amazing to contribute, but my white privilege had chosen through the way in which I view the world, had subconsciously chosen all white women on the top of the page. And I was absolutely gutted that I hadn't seen it until I printed out the thing. And it's only one of a gazillion ways that the way that I haven't stopped to look, I haven't gone deeper to find out more, to commit to more, to take more action, to acknowledge things like the original custodians of this land that I am coming to you from today are the BIPOC people, and I acknowledge their ownership of country and their elders past, present and emerging. And although I use those words on my retreats, I have so many other ways in which I can intentionally bring my intentions and bring my money and bring my awareness and make other people aware of what's happening to Black, Indigenous, people of colour here in Australia and overseas, because of what I'm actively looking for rather than what I've subconsciously just chosen to see. One of the big things that I realized after watching a TED talk on the single story, the single viewed story, is this amazing woman was on that. I wish I knew her name. I'm going to pop it in the notes. Was describing how we only see the world through the story that we are either told or viewed, and it's not until we hear lots of other stories and start to actively seek out those other stories and hear those other stories and hear those other voices do we start to see the world from a different worldview. And one of the books I've been reading recently is Dark Emu, and it changed the way that I even look at the grasses out the front of my house. And I'm disappointed and ashamed that I haven't looked further for more stories and more voices, and I'm committed moving forward to actively participate in the conversation, actively bring awareness to different businesses through my Instagram, through Facebook, and have different stories, different voices and diversity on our stage at NatEx. And I know it's not enough, and I know that I'm just at the beginning, and I know I'm committed to doing more, and I'm sorry that I haven't before, but I wanted to own it, and I wanted to talk about it perfectly imperfect and weirdly and all of the things. So I guess if you're like me, go and seek it out. Another thing I learned today was every time we Google something, now it seems really obvious now I'm going to say it, but every time we Google something, that the most Googled sites are the ones where the media goes, oh, we should probably do more articles on that. The most Googled sites are the ones that we should do more articles on. So therefore, all that information that I didn't know about Aboriginal health, Aboriginal deaths in custody, all of this stuff, it's just because it hasn't been Googled enough. It's because that the media hasn't covered it enough, and that it hasn't been up-ranked enough that they're going to do more information on it, more awareness, then more actual charges for the people who have actually killed people here in Australia. And we've seen it over in America these past couple of days, but it's because we haven't Googled it. I haven't bothered to look. I can only own my part of it, but I haven't bothered to look. And if I haven't bothered to look, then the media gets that information and says, that's not valuable information, that's not valid, that voice isn't valid, and we won't actually follow through with that. And I don't want to stand for that anymore. Different day 3 live, but hopefully something that you might have an opportunity to start thinking about. If you want to go and check out what I've been exploring over on Instagram stories, I'm sharing what I've been watching, what I've been listening to, and what I've been reading. And if you are doing the same thing, I'd love to hear in the comments below anything that would be helpful, and anything that you might have Googled. And if you are a person of colour, I am sorry, and I'm doing my best. Thanks.